There are so many things happening in our dear country, Nigeria. And let's tell you one in particular today. That is Nigeria's infrastructure deficit across all sectors, which is estimated to cost $2.3 trillion. Wow. This is so wide and costly that government alone cannot meet up in terms of resources, time, material, and other multi-sectoral intervening variables. The responsibility of speeding up provision of infrastructure to bridge the gap and propel the nation into the contemporary world is vested in one agency, in the presidency. That's the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, ICRC. The ICRC is coordinating, supervising, regulating and ensuring compliance of all public-private partnership, what they call PPP infrastructural projects, for timely execution, service delivery, and maintenance. The Director General of the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, Dr. Jobson Eseodion Iwalefo, is on Reshaping Democracy to share with citizens efforts to improve their quality of lives through PPP that is making Nigeria a destination for all investors around the world.
Mr. DG, sir, my question is, how is the ICRC addressing Nigerians' infrastructure gaps through public-private partnership, PPPs, and how are these interventions touching the lives of the people?
One of the programs that was launched is the Highway Development Management Initiative. And if you know, we have about 35,000 kilometers of road network across the country, but we've selected a couple of the roads that are viable for PPP. And we have them in two stages. We have the HDMI 1, HDMI 2. HDMI 1, 12 roads were selected, but 9 are the ones they are working on now. And one of them has actually been flagged off and work has commenced on them. That's the Benin Asaba road, which was flagged off by the Minister of Works and Minister of Finance, and my humble self. And the essence of this initiative through PPP is that it's clear that budgetary constraint will not allow government to build some of these roads or rehabilitate them, as the case may be. But we have private sectors that have made their intentions known. They have the money, they have what it takes. They have a very strong backing to say that they want to build this road and recoup the investment over time. We have the African Finance Corporation. They are part of the consortium that are bidding for this road. And this will open up the road network for economic activities whereby farm produce can find their way to the market and make life is easy. There can be land value capture across the corridors, and people will be able to have a good life. Will save life, most importantly. Will save life of citizens. Citizens don't have to die because of a bad road. We should be able to have good roads to save their life, access to education, access to market, access to economic activities, and access to good life. And that is what I think the Mr. President is focused on, and is giving support in all direction to ensure that is done. And like I said, we are concluding all the negotiations, and you will see a flag off of all the roads in the HDMI 1 and HDMI 2, to the instance time. And I think we're doing a lot. I think I will not permit you to tell you about them. We're doing a lot across sectors and every sectors in the country. So I think I like the question that's been asked from Abuja, and I think it's a very good one. And very soon, the Benin Shagamu Road will soon be flagged off, and even the Abuja Road just on the radar of the HDMI 1. And I think the gentleman that has the questions from that axis will start saying the dividend of democracy, one of the promises of renewal, on which mandate we are all standing. And I think Abuja will come alive soon.
What measures are in place by RCRC to ensure that PPP projects comply with regulatory requirements enforcement among stakeholders?
All right, thank you. Maybe I'll need to say this. Our RCRC is not an operator, it's not a developer, we're a regulator of the PPP ecosystem by virtue of the ICRC Establishment Act 2005, an act of parliament. So what we basically do is that we facilitate, we promote, we guide, and we regulate all PPP transactions in the country. So for us, in terms of regulation, we ensure that we create a system wherein all PPP proposals, ideas that have been conceived either by the ministries or by private proponents comes to ICRC, and it starts by them preparing an outline business case, which clearly identify that say, okay, there's the concept of the project, there's the technical requirement, there's the financial requirement, these are the stakeholders, these are all we need to do over time. So when they submit their OBC to ICRC, we review them, and what are we looking at for when we review business cases? Two basic things, among others, that we look at for. One is the viability of that project. And the second one, we want to make viable, how viable is the project? Can the project run if all funds are made available? Second one is bankability. Can the project be able to attract the necessary funding from the lenders? So once we identify those two things and we see that the stakeholders are on board, we also issues you with the certificates of compliance that says, okay, this is good, we can proceed to the next stage of procurement to see how best we can get value. And when we say the next stage, we're talking of the procurement that involves due diligence on the proponent, on the bidders, on the private partner, whichever one comes first in that scenario. And we are doing due diligence. We do what we call corporate due diligence, legal due diligence, technical due diligence, reputational due diligence. What do we say now? Financial due diligence. So we do all the due diligence to be sure that people that are coming into Nigeria to do business, if they are foreign and if they are local, they are what it takes for the project to see the light of day. After that, we're going to negotiations to ensure that no party, I wouldn't say that we're going to negotiation to defend government. No, we're going to ensure that no party is cheated, because in PPP, it's a win-win or a lose-lose. It's a partnership as this is public-private partnership. That means as a partnership, nobody takes advantage of the other. So when you come together in the partnership, we make sure that there is fairness to both parties, and that is where ICRC stands. And I want to thank Mr. President for the recent approval he has given to ICRC to ensure that we play a very key role when it comes to negotiations. So after that, the project comes back to ICRC for us to ensure that everything that needs to be done in terms of procurement, due diligence, negotiation, everything has been put in place. And one key thing we now do as part of our process that has evolved is that we try to see and validate the source of funding. Any bidder coming to ICRC now must show that they have the necessary finance for the project. And that we do by saying that everybody must post a bond. A certain percentage of your project cost, you must be willing to post it as a bond. In which case, if we found you want another page, you forfeit the bond to the government. So we are putting in place measures, and after that, we show you what you call a FBC, that's a full business certificate of compliance, and you go to FEC, as the case may be, to get approval and Ministry of Justice for vetting of the agreement. But with the recent threshold approved by Mr. President, it depends on the threshold, whether you go to FEC or you go to the ministry or the parastatal for approval. But above all, the Ministry of Justice plays a very key role to ensure that we have very strong contract governing PPPs in Nigeria.
Mr. DG, sir, I want to ask a question. What are the factors you do consider when structuring the PPP project? And what are the factors you do use to evaluate the project being done by your commission?
There are two routes in PPP. There's what we call the solicited and the unsolicited. Solicited means when government tenders for a PPP project. That means government identify a project, government prepare the outline business case. Because that business case that actually tell you how if the project is good enough or not to be procured through PPP. Because I must say this, PPP is a form of procurement. And the difference between PPP and the traditional procurement is that traditional procurement, government is funding. And in PPP, the private sector is bringing their money. But for both methods, it's geared towards service delivery for the people. So now, in a PPP situation, if you are doing, like I said, we have two routes, the solicited route and the unsolicited route. So for the solicited route, what that is that government gets a transaction advisor that will prepare a business case. And when the business case is prepared and adopted, that business case is sent to ICRC for review. This business and the process of tendering is the journey for every PPP starts with the MDA. Let me make that very clear. When I mean MDA, I mean ministries, departments, and agencies who are the owner of the project or of the asset. Now, like we say in PPP that we'll do here, is a matter of concessioning. And we are concessioning, that means we are conceding the right to manage that asset for that period of time to the private party. So when the MDA originates the idea of the project, they engage a transaction advisor who prepares a business case, and when the business case is settled by the MDA, they transmit it to ICRC for our regulatory guidance. And once we are satisfied with that, we give a certificate of compliance and we advise on the next steps. And if it's tendering, if it's solicited, you go out there and issue the tender. At the end of the day, you have a preferred bidder and you have a reserve bidder. Now, what do? We conduct due diligence on the preferred bidder. Once it passes the due diligence exercise, it posts the bond. Then we move straight to negotiation. The negotiations are done. Where successful, is concluded, and the minutes of meeting and the agreed terms of negotiation is now used to update the business case and the proposal from the proponent. And with that, you now come up with what you call a full business case that is further transmitted to the ICRC for further regulatory guidance. And we, in turn, review it to check compliance. Where it's satisfactory, we issue the certificate of compliance, and depending on the threshold, we ask the MDA to proceed for the Federal Executive Council, which by law has the ultimate approval to approve all PEP projects. But with the threshold now, it depends on the threshold, neither to be the ministry or the processor that approve. And after the approval, it doesn't stop there. It proceeds to the Ministry of Justice for further review and vetting of the agreement to be ensured that government is protected at all times. The further solicited is that, which we call a private party initiated project. That means a private proponent identifies certain key infrastructure asset that they're interested in, or they have what it takes to run. They approach the MDA as well. Once that is done, the next thing they do is that they forward it to ICRC for further regulatory guidance. And what do we do? Like I said, don't waste time on that. We check for the necessary things that we do, that the bankability, the viability. Once we're satisfied with that, we should certificate of compliance. We have three options. We have the Swiss challenge option, or the modified Swiss challenge option, or direct negotiation. So let me just explain the Swiss challenge because of time. Then is that, okay, we go and tender, and it's been done in other jurisdictions. It's not just related to Nigeria. Now, what we do is that we take the business case, we proceed and tender it. Whoever wins the bid, if it's different from the pricing you are giving us, it's either you match it or the winner becomes the preferred bidder. And from that, all the other processes that lead to the approval starts. So that's just the difference between the unsolicited and solicited route. One is initiated by government, the other is initiated by the private party. So for want of time, these are the basic routes of PPPs that we have in Nigeria for now.
My name is James Kauta from Nasarawa State. How does the ICRC monitor the performance of PP projects, and what indicators are used to evaluate their success?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I would like to explain and let Nigerians know that the PPP are governed primarily by one document. And that document, which is the Bible of the project, is what we call the concession agreement. Concession agreement contains all the terms and that the parties have agreed during negotiations that is consummated and executed, and that's effective, that is binding on everybody. However, the problem is that PPP or concession agreement, or PPP agreement as you want to call it, are live documents. They are not static. So you ask me, what are the modalities that we put in place to monitor PPP project? One, those are the things that we looked at during negotiations. During negotiations, the party agree on a lot of things. And like I said, for every PPP project, we are strong on what we call the output specifications, or you can call it deliverables. So every PPP project has its clear output specifications and that is clear deliverables. So those deliverables are key performance indicators, the KPIs that we use to measure them. And parties agree. How do you monitor to ensure that this is done? And let me tell you, our act is very clear that part of the function of ICRC as an agency is to monitor efficient execution of the terms that has been agreed by both parties. And clear sections of our act made it clear that whenever we want to go for monitoring, the private party has the obligation to allow us entrance into it at any time as far as it's within the day. So what we do basically is that, one, in the agreement, there are monitoring terms, there are key deliverables that we check out for. Based on that, it's a schedule to the contract. When you say, okay, in year one, these are what and what we do. In year two, these are what we will do. In year three, these are the capital injection we are putting in. So there are clear performance indicators in the contract, and ICRC is mandated yearly or quarterly, as the case may be, to monitor this contract, ensure that by both parties, because obligations are shared between the grantor and the concessionaires.
What capacity building initiatives has the ICRC implemented for stakeholders, including government agencies, private sector entities, and civil society organizations, sir?
One of our key functions is to promote the adoption of PPPs in government procurement or in building infrastructure or service delivery for our people. So in promoting it, we have a lot of things we put in place in terms of creating awareness, building capacity around PPPs. And I'll just start with two. There's what we call the 3PCF. The 3PUCF is a forum wherein all PPP heads in the MDAs meet quarterly to deliberate on challenges, new innovations, and new ideas in the PPP ecosystem, where we meet with them and we tell them on what to do. And where we bring in guest speakers, guest lecturers, where we also discuss case studies so that people can look at the lessons learned from recent projects that have been consummated. Another areas where we build capacity is the MPPN that we are doing in partnership with the Governors Forum, where all PPP heads in the 36 states of the Federation and all the investment officers gather also, either quarterly or twice a year, to discuss the challenges so that we can deepen PPP. And we are also in collaboration with the University of Malaysia, where we offer a diploma program and we also do up to master's level, even PhD in PPP management.
My name is Damian Egwon. I'm right here in Oka. I'm a journalist by profession. How does ICRC contribute to policy development in the PPP space and in line with the Renewed Hope agenda? What role does the Commission play in shaping the framework for infrastructure development in Nigeria?
The champion of the Renewed Hope agenda is Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, on whose mandate we all stand, on whom Nigeria gave their mandate. I said at different forums that his government is a government of PPP. And he has made it very clear that he believes in liberalizing the economy. And also, it's a no-brainer, it's a known fact that the money we are getting as revenue today cannot build the Nigeria for our dream from government budgets alone. So we need the involvement of private sector to actualize the Renewed Hope agenda. And I think the government is very serious. The government is daily creating an enabling environment where the private sector can invest. Now, you need to understand that Mr. President puts a lot of interest in private sector coming in to help build the Nigerian economy and provide service delivery to Nigerians. In appointing me, the president was very clear. He only gave me 1 point charge that ICRC, me as TG, should use innovative way of attracting private sector funding in building and infrastructure. It was very clear on that mandate. And what did we do differently? When we came in, we look at the existing processes, we look at where are the barriers to business, where are the bottlenecks, and within the first 3 months, I sat down with my team, I came out with a very clear mandate. We streamlined all the processes, came out with a 6-point agenda, and part of which is engagement with the MDAs. I go to them, I lead by the front, I ensure that I understand their problem, I create processes for each of their problem, and also find a way to resolve. I'll give you an example now. Before now, we have a one process fits all for PPPs. But we later discovered that you cannot use the same approach that you're using for road PPPs to talk about, to run a PPP in housing. And it's so simple. In roads, it's a public asset that everybody uses. But in housing, it's personal. People want to own houses. They want to own their houses. So they want to live in it. Nobody owns a road, but people own houses. So if you are doing PPP in those two sectors, you cannot have the same process. So what do? We try to create a tailor-fit approach in doing PPPs and on a need basis. So we are sectorial in our approach. So streamlining it to what Nigerians want to hear. And like I said, that is one thing that we did, and that's also in line with the vision of Mr. President, and also the Treasury that he has approved. And also we ensure that we don't sit back and say, okay, until the MDs bring project to us, no. We go to them now and tell them that, hey, in this MDA, that the opportunities you have there, and people are willing to come in. And as I sit down here today, I get calls from a lot of people and say, we have money, want to invest in Nigeria, where do we invest it? And I've been trying to, letting them know that, okay, these opportunities are available in these sectors and Nigerians can invest. And that is why we did the last PPP summit that we did, wherein the whole world know that we are a destination for investment. 200 million people, we're definitely the destination for investment in PPPs. And I can tell you, we're getting tractions, we're doing a lot more. And in another 1 year, if you come back here again, I'll be able to give you our scorecard of what we have done.
Interesting conversation. As a real Nigerian, let's believe it's happening as the country's population provides stimulus, mobilizing private sector funds and raising confidence in PPP infrastructure. ICRC has created an enabling environment for PPPs to thrive, with ministries, departments, and agencies as owners of projects, other stakeholders and partnership with Governors Forum, now all of them on the same page to deepen infrastructure renewal. The Commission is no doubt making sustainable progress in improving operational efficiency of projects, combining government control, private sector execution, and operation in a symbiotic relationship. That's another journey on Reshaping Democracy. I'm Ayodeji Makinde. Thanks for your time today. We'll be back again same time next week. Bye-bye.
Hello everyone! Proud African Roots presents